Started Coastal Communities 2150 3 years ago. It's a climate change project to communicate the impacts of long-term climate change and to get communities involved in planning for adapting to the future. As communities on the south coast of England, northern France, Belgium and the Netherlands, which are our project study areas, we all face increasing challenges in the future. The next 100, 150 years could see quite significant change. The temperatures will warm, the sea levels could rise by maybe up to a metre by the end of this century and much further into the future. Temperatures will get hotter, 2 or 3 degrees hotter on average throughout the summer, but a really hot summer's day could be up to 10 degrees hotter.
We are bombarded every day with these big concepts, with these global reports, with these political statements, and a lot of this just goes straight over the head of many people. It's like somebody else's business. It's not somebody else's business, it's all of our business, and we've tried to develop a process here that emphasises that puts people in the landscape and shows them that you're surrounded by all these connections, they affect you.
The problem we've experienced in the last couple of years, and I'm not enough of a climate scientist, but I believe it is linked with climate change, is the volatility of the weather. We've only seen the effect that's had on farmers in the southeast over the last couple of summers.
One of the things that we have found is the importance of talking to people face to face. It takes time, but it's definitely worth it. Social media is great for making the contact, but when you actually talk to people and want to explain the issues and get their views, face to face is so much better.
I think the vision and action plan will be brilliant there because A, it's going to promote a lot of discussion, because somebody will say, well, that's ridiculous, or well, that sounds good, or I never knew that.
Exactly.
But it'll be a topic of conversation.
That's
be
right.
on the agenda. It's going to be a strong starting point for taking things forward for the future.
The most important thing that we've learned thus far is that everybody's situations are very similar. So when you feel like you're isolated or you feel like you're dealing with a very unique problem, actually, if you look to your neighbours, you might be able to find a solution because they're probably dealing with a similar problem. So having the open communication with the different partner groups has really encouraged solutions to problems.
We are using different set of tools. We are using separate tools, such as an atelier on dike and beach developments, where we use local architects, spatial planners, landscape architects, and local community members to get a broader idea on visionings, on ideas, on scenarios of future developments of the coast.
At the moment it's not so much about the actual climate change, but they are very concerned about the economic future, and we want to include that in the whole coastal change debate.
Instead of making a new process around climate change, we want to feed that into the already ongoing process. What we hope to reach is that they whatever plan they make, that they think of how to deal with climate change when I'm making a new plan. And the second thing we would like to reach them is to make use of the landscape.
One of the best things about this project is learning from our other partners how they're handling it. There's different nuances about the way that we're all doing things, and so it's very helpful to come together and see what other people are doing.
Well, the main focus, I think, of CC2150 is to raise awareness of people what might happen if the sea level rise continues. So that's, I think, an interesting thought and a good opportunity for an exchange.
The idea for the trip came from the headmaster of Parry School, Tony Smith, which I think is really nice. He could see the value of the Coastal Communities project, heard back from his staff, from Lawrence Quinn and Greg Guilford, I think how well things were going in the classroom, and just made an off the cuff remark saying, it'd be lovely to see if we could get a link with a school in Holland.
Benefit is of course, in the sense that they investigate something real, that it is a real threat, although I doubt whether they feel it is a real threat. This awareness in the Netherlands is pretty low. We all feel rather secure. I mean, today you saw the barrier and all the engineering, so it's not top of mind in students' ideas. Another benefit is that they are actually researching and investigating something, probably in another country, and comparing their own locality to a locality with similar problems but in a different setting.
What we do plant before we go from arable to vines is we have a whole year of mustard. So we let the mustard grow up, it sells seeds, it grows again, take a cut off it, and then we plough it back in. So we've got your free fertiliser. We've had a whole year of mustard in there, and from the bees' point of view, it's fantastic. Well, we have the solar panels for the winery, which that's powering the winery building itself, and we also have solar panels on our Flint barn, which is going to be housing at least sort of accommodation for about 50 people for sort of education and some other courses, and that's solar powered as well. And then all the grey water collection off all the barns and off the roof of the winery is UV filtered and then reused, because there's a lot of water needed for wine production. Sort of the farming side of things, I think farmers on the whole do need to adapt, listen to all the advice and information that's out there from the likes of yourselves, the Environment Agency. From the sort of the public's point of view, it's being aware that wildlife will change and will adapt itself. We're already getting, for instance, the Adonis blue butterfly, which is quite a distinctive butterfly on the south, a very iconic electric blue. You could argue that's actually increasing in the South Downs due to climate change, not because any of the work that the National Park or my colleagues have been doing regarding habitat management. That's purely a climate change thing. So there are positives out there for wildlife as it comes in from Europe and moves up. So there are positives to be made.
Just had an extremely good and useful discussion. It's ranged from the very local community perspective right the way through to European Union activity and how that impacts on it, and of course the role of the Environment Agency in trying to cope with this very extreme weather that we're facing at the moment.
Well, the extraordinary weather events of the last couple of months, which are still going on as the conference takes place, make it particularly relevant and topical, of course. And suddenly this debate has risen to the top of the political agenda. What should we do to make our coastlines more resilient as well as inland flooding?
The initiative is really important as one of the key Interreg projects, showing that the topic of coastal management and coastal protection is really relevant across Europe. And it's an example of transnational collaboration, which is really interesting.
I think out of this will come some very positive thinking about how we can go forward, how we prepare for the increasing impacts that climate change will have, how we cope with more extreme weather, which we are undoubtedly likely to have over the years ahead, and how we can work with communities, not telling people what to do, but working with communities in getting the best solutions.
Actually, the timing of the conference is also really interesting. I mean, we heard many of the current events and recent past events in the UK, so people are really enthusiastic to talk about it and find solutions at the local level, and that's very, very good to see.
We've been very impressed with the way communities have wanted to be involved in the project, and they still want to continue. They're very supportive, and they'd like to see something moving forward. So we've got the community visioning and action plans, and we'll be supporting them through looking at how they can implement those in the future, get those provided. We'll also be doing some more work with another project called Prime C, where members of the Coastal Communities Project plus other projects coming together at a wider level to look at the impacts of what we need to do in the future for coastal planning, coastal safety and climate change. And so we'll be looking at that over the next 18 months, and we hope that we can again continue the good work and leave an important legacy.